If it meant something, you would have done something. Written and narrated by Peter J. Merrick. This Tuesday, I will not be going to Balboa Park. For years now, Tuesday has belonged to me. I discovered a long time ago that many of Balboa Park's museums open their doors free to San Diego County residents on Tuesdays, and ever since then I have protected those days because every now and then an old fart needs to restock. I grab a coffee, wander through a museum, and let the world slow down for a couple of hours. Every old fart needs one place where nobody wants anything from him. That has quietly become my Tuesday ritual. It is one appointment on my calendar that I almost never change. Then today my phone rang. Someone new asked if I could meet them in Los Angeles this Tuesday. They would be flying in and out that day. My first thought wasn't about the meeting. It was about the train. Apparently, this old fart still gets excited about trains. Somewhere inside me, there's still a little boy who thinks buying a train ticket qualifies as an adventure, and thankfully, nobody has managed to talk him out of it. I laughed because I already knew what I was going to do, not because I knew this fresh encounter would be worthwhile, but because I realized I wanted something more than I wanted certainty. I wanted to know. That surprised me. There was a time in my life when I needed to know how everything would turn out before I was willing to begin. Looking back, I spent an awful lot of time trying to predict a future that had absolutely no interest in being predicted. Apparently, my crystal ball came with no instructions. Either that or this old fart accidentally bought the travel edition. So this Tuesday, instead of walking into Balboa Park, I am walking into San Diego's Santa Fe Depot train station, a quarter-mile away from my home in Little Italy. I'm going to buy a ticket to Los Angeles Union Station and board the train. The meeting might become a wonderful opportunity. It might become a life-changing event. It might become an inspiring friendship, or a complete waste of time, or an absolute disaster. Oddly enough, I find myself smiling at every one of those possibilities. They all have one thing in common. That is, I will know these truths. If I never buy the ticket, if I never board the train, if I stay home because it feels safer, I'll never know. That has become one of the biggest changes in my life. I have discovered that I have a greater need to know than I do to protect myself from disappointment. Looking back, the moments that changed my life almost never announced themselves in advance. They usually arrive disguised as ordinary Tuesdays, a conversation, an invitation, a phone call, a plane ticket, now a train ticket. Life has a peculiar sense of humor. It almost never tells us which ordinary decision is quietly becoming an extraordinary one. Maybe that's why I've stopped trying so hard to predict the ending. I'd rather show up and let life surprise me than spend another year wondering what the next chapter of my life might have been. Besides, I've noticed something about regret. It has perfect attendance. Years ago, I came across something called the delayed life plan. It is the belief that we tolerate the life we do not really want because someday we will finally begin living the life we have imagined. The idea sounds comforting until you ask two simple questions. How exactly do we know when someday arrives? And who convinced us we would still be here when it does? Apparently, this old fart believed Father Time was running a frequent flyer program. I honestly thought I had accumulated enough points for a few extra decades while I organized my thoughts, drank another coffee, and waited for everything to line up perfectly. It turns out I was not even a member of that make-believe frequent flyer plan. Father Time is apparently a terrible loyalty program and has absolutely no interest in extending anyone's points. That realization quietly changed the way I make decisions. I stopped asking whether something was guaranteed to work and started asking whether I could live with never finding out. The answer became surprisingly simple. I can't. Not because I believe every opportunity will change my life. Quite honestly, most of them probably won't. This encounter in Los Angeles may become something with extreme significance. It may also become two people having coffee and deciding they never need to see each other again. It could be a complete waste of my time. It could be an absolute disaster. If that happens, I'll still come home with something valuable. I'll come home knowing. Knowing has become one of the greatest gifts I can give myself. It closes a chapter instead of leaving the ending blank. Regret never closes anything. It simply leaves a bookmark in the middle of the story and keeps asking us to reread the same page. I wonder what would have happened. That question has visited me often enough over the years. I finally decided it is a guest I no longer wish to entertain. An experience is worth a trillion regrets. Even when it hurts, disappoints us, or turns out differently than we imagined, it still gives us something in return. Experiences become stories. They become wisdom, memories, friendships, perspective, and occasionally they become the very thing we were searching for when we didn't even know we were searching. Regret never seems that generous. It simply grows heavier every year we carry it. So this Tuesday, I am not choosing a meeting. I'm choosing an experience. I am choosing to stand in San Diego's Santa Fe Depot, buy a ticket to Los Angeles Union Station, and board a train without knowing how the day will end. Strangely enough, that uncertainty no longer frightens me nearly as much as the thought of staying home. I do not have the answers to life's great questions or its great mysteries. I am simply trying to figure them out like everyone else, not by endlessly thinking about life, but by living it. Maybe that is what has changed the most. I have discovered that I would rather be disappointed by reality than comforted by imagination. Reality eventually sets us free. Regret keeps us imprisoned inside a story that never actually happened. So if this meeting turns into nothing, I'll know. If it turns into something, I'll know that too. Either way, I will come home with something infinitely more valuable than another excuse. I will come home with an answer. After all, if it meant something, you would have done something to make it happen. Peter J. Merrick, A.K.A. Old Fart. This old fart has learned that courage is rarely found at the destination. It usually shows up the moment you buy the ticket and step onto the train called life and living.